Here's another exclusive clip from Wrestling Reality with Justin LaBar, brought to you by Gladiators of the Cage.
You can find him on his podcast, Pod Nasty. You can find him on Bleacher Report. You can find him on Twitter at This Is Nasty. He is my brother from a different color mother. He is Big Nasty. Big Nasty, how are you, buddy?
What's going on? Hey, Justin, don't lie. We are brothers. We're blood brothers. We have the same parents. You don't have to tell people another mother.
Well, I was, see, now we got a Hulk Hogan situation here, because now I got a lot of explaining to do. Now we got some explaining to do. All right, Big Nasty. Here's the deal. You're a phenomenal communicator, a phenomenal writer. You cover the wrestling business just as I do. You're an African American. You're Brooke Hogan's former forbidden fiance. Straight up, right now. Are you offended by Hulk Hogan's comments?
Well, of course. I mean, there's no way to not be offended by Hulk Hogan's comments. But when I break it down, Hulk Hogan is not the target here. This is what we do in the society. We tear down the athlete. We tear down the guy. Yes, it was terrible what Hulk Hogan said, but I like to look deeper into issues because, Hulk Hogan and WWE, to me, are one and the same. You don't have Hulk Hogan without WWE and vice versa. And we all know this is an industry that's deeply rooted in institutional racism. So we can get mad at Hulk Hogan all we want, but if we continue to focus on him and not the bigger issues, well, then it's just going to keep happening because it's happened before and it's going to happen again.
How do you give me your thoughts on WWE, how they handle this? I mean, they're completely, you're hearing, I've used it and I understand why we're using it. Comparison to Chris Benoit because of how fast they've just completely alienated themselves. Do you agree with all this, with the PR handling?
Yeah, I mean, in the landscape we're in today, they didn't have a choice. They're a publicly traded company. The stock did take a hit. So from a business standpoint, they really didn't have a choice. I mean, they would have gone under fire if they would have just continued to associate themselves with Hulk Hogan. It would have been seen as arrogant and even more racist if they would have just kept him on tough enough and kept him around. So WWE is doing the right thing in terms of disassociating themselves with somebody who made terrible comments. But at the same time, I mean, look at it from Hulk Hogan's perspective in that if you're going to be a bigot, like Hulk Hogan will be back. Okay, a lot of people don't think Hogan will be back. He will. Because if you're going to be a bigot, why not do so in a company that doesn't have any black writers, no black board members, no black corporate executives, even outside of professional wrestling. I'm probably the only black person who covers it from a major media outlet on a regular basis. So there really isn't much of a black voice, and that lends itself to a lot of ignorant thinking and feeling within older wrestlers and within institutionally.
Well, I will correct you to say he did work for SmackDown. I think now he's actually the head writer for NXT. There is a black writer, but yeah, one in the bunch. I'll put it out there. Well, explain to me this. You kind of started to say this. So expand on this. I was going to ask you, will this blow over, or is he exiled until he dies? But you think this will blow over?
Absolutely will blow over. Are we going to forget about Michael Hayes, who in my mind made even more, allegedly or reportedly, what the story was that he went to Mark Henry and said, I'm more of an N-word than you are, which to me is even worse than just saying that somebody's an N-word, because you're taking that extra step and you're saying, well, there's characteristics within you that make you less black, which I think is always a dumb argument. And Mark Hayes, got slapped on the hands, got suspended. He's back. He's got power. He's one of the top writers. So, and this is another big reason I think Hulk Hogan is going to be back, is because you look at people like Donald Sterling. He'll never be back in the NBA because he deeply offended African Americans in a sport that's predominantly black. Not star players are black. The president of the association is black, so he'll never be back. Same with Colin Cowherd and Dominican players and baseball. I mean, he'll be back on the radio, but he was exiled for a while. And then, we see this Mel Gibson, the same situation, making fun of Jewish people in an industry where a lot of the power brokers and great writers and producers are Jewish. Hulk Hogan is in the right industry to be a bigot, okay? There's a lot, there's not a lot of black people in power in WWE, if any. So, for him to say these things, he'll be back. There's a nostalgia factor, the 80s factor. To be honest, I'm black, and as mad as that made me, I have it. Now, I grew up a Hulkamaniac. He made me fall in love with wrestling. So eventually people will forget Hogan if he goes on an apology tour, and he's in the right industry to be the way he is in the video, unfortunately.
Talking to Big Nasty. You can follow him on Twitter at This Is Nasty. He's got a great podcast, Pod Nasty, which you can subscribe to on iTunes. You can see stuff on YouTube. And, of course, he always doing good columns and videos where we first linked up over on Bleacher Report. Big Nasty, real quick before you go, I know you did a video with this. So do you look at this as Hulk Hogan, as the leader of the Hulkamaniacs making these comments, or was it Terry Bollea, or is it all one and the same?
I can't. The way I'm think about things like this, I can't look at this as Hulk Hogan because I was trained at an early age, and it's so funny that this happened. It's not funny, but it's just ironic. I grew up a Hulkamaniac, and I wanted to be Hulk Hogan when I was a child, and my parents sat me down. They said, listen, you don't want to idolize yourself after athletes because there's their personal life and then there's what they do professionally. And you know, it's great for you to admire them professionally, but just don't get too deeply involved with them. And they use Hulk Hogan as an example. Like, you don't know what this guy's doing in his personal life. Fast forward 29 years later, like, my parents are right. So I've always loved Michael Jordan. I've always loved Hulk Hogan, the character. And whatever happens in their personal life, yes, it's unfortunate. Yes, it's terrible, and they'll repent. But there's a big side of me saying, well, you know, I never really held him to any type of standard personally. So Hulk Hogan, the man, is still a guy who I deeply respect in terms of somebody who made me fall in love with wrestling. It's terrible what Terry Bollea did, but I disassociate the two.
Don't give me this big story about your parents sat you down. Just admit it. You were a big fan of Zeus, and Zeus never got the push you're supposed to get. So now you're holding a grudge, and just tell me that much.
Zeus was getting married, brother. You know, Hogan's getting what he deserves.
Follow him on Twitter at This Is Nasty. Nasty, it was a great time seeing you out in Cali for Mania. Are you coming East Coast for SummerSlam by chance?
I might. I'm still considering it, but it doesn't look like SummerSlam, but it's definitely WrestleMania.
All right. Well, hopefully we see you out here, but if not, we'll catch up again down the road. Follow him on Twitter at This Is Nasty. Thanks very much, bud.
Absolutely. Thank you.